Sushruta for NEET is now available on the Google Play Store. Try it out for free.
Good morning, students. So in our last class, we have started studying colligative properties. First of all, we have seen the osmotic pressure and the reverse osmosis. These things we have seen in quite details. Let us now look into the another colligative property, the relative lowering of vapor pressure. We have seen, I have explained last time, the colligative property is the property which depends on the number of particles of the solute that are present in a solution. And so the four colligative properties that have looked into that that we actually study. One is the osmotic pressure, then relative lowering of vapor pressure, then elevation of boiling point is increase in the boiling point, and the diffraction is the freezing point. The rest of the three, the osmotic pressure we have already seen. The rest of the three we'll see today. So let us start relative lowering of vapor pressure. And vapor pressure, if you perhaps you remember, I have explained it many times earlier. Vapor pressure of a solution of a non-volatile solute is in a volatile solvent. Non-volatile solute and volatile solvent. Non-volatile solute doesn't get evaporated at normal temperature and or in the at the ambient conditions. Or the volatile solvent, which the solvent gets easily evaporated, is always found to be less than the vapor pressure of pure solvent. Is what we have already studied. And what is the vapor pressure? Vapor pressure, we know if you have solvent, a volatile substance is there, and if it is kept in a closed vessel, and because of the evaporation, some of the particles of this substance will go into the vapor phase, and whatever the pressure of that substance will be there because of the molecules that are present in the gaseous state is called the vapor pressure. So this is because, and why vapor pressure? And what we have seen, the volatile solvent is always found to be more, the vapor pressure of volatile solvent is always more than the vapor pressure of a pure solution. Vapor pressure of a solution means if you add some non-volatile solute into the solution. Because if you add non-volatile solute, that the solute particle will not be evaporated. Whatever will be there in the solution, the particles or the molecules in the gas phase, those gas molecules are only the molecules of the solvent, volatile solvent. And the number of these molecules at a given temperature is lesser if as comparison to if there is a pure solvent. And this is because some of the solute molecules will cover certain surface area of the solution, and thus the probability of the solvent particles to go into the vapor phase decreases. So what does it mean? The P naught, the vapor pressure of pure solvent, will always be greater than vapor pressure of the solvent into the solution phase. This is also the vapor pressure of the solvent, but again, it is in the solution phase. The solvent is in solution with the, means it is mixed with certain non-volatile solute. And the lowering in vapor pressure, then we can calculate lowering in vapor pressure, the delta P. That delta P means whatever the vapor pressure was initially minus whatever the vapor pressure is now in the solution phase is their difference is the lowering in vapor pressure. It's a difference in vapor pressure and lowering. Why lowering? Because initially it was higher. Now whatever is the value, by whatever amount it has lowered, it has come down. It is the lowering in the vapor pressure. And it means the initial vapor pressure minus the vapor pressure in the solution phase. And the initial means the vapor pressure of the pure solvent. And then one can relatively calculate the relative lowering in vapor pressure, where lowering in vapor pressure is then a relative lowering. If relative of what? Relative of what? The vapor pressure of pure solvent or vapor pressure in comparison to the initial vapor pressure. This is what we call the relative lowering. So relative lowering in vapor pressure is defined as delta P divided by P naught. And delta P divided by P naught, you know, P naught is the vapor pressure of pure solvent, and delta P is P naught minus PS, means the vapor pressure of pure solvent minus vapor pressure of the solution. And the Raoult established that the lowering of vapor pressure, this is what the Raoult's law we study in this was given by the Raoult. So he said that the lowering in vapor pressure depends only on the concentration of solute particles and it is independent of their identity. This is why it is called the colligative property. So what The chemical doesn't depend, lowering in vapor pressure doesn't depend on the chemical nature or the physical nature of the solute particles. It only depends on the number of particles. However, it does depend on the chemical or physical nature of those particles in a certain way. But if, and what is that certain way? If the particles dissociate or associate. And if those particles do not, or particles of solute do not dissociate or associate into the solution, then whatever Raoult has said is correct. And the Raoult's law for non-volatile solutes that we know, the vapor pressure of a solution of non-volatile solute is equal to the vapor pressure of the pure solvent at that temperature multiplied by its mole fraction. And this is what we have already studied. So vapor pressure, this is what we know. The vapor pressure in the solution phase is equal to, this is for actually for the solvent, is equal to the mole fraction of solvent into the vapor pressure of the pure solvent. This is what we have already studied earlier as the Raoult's law. And why it is so? This is because the only volatile component is this. And what the X solvent we can, what is the X? Is a mole fraction of the solvent, and mole fraction of the solvent plus mole fraction of the solute is equal to 1 in a, for a binary solution. This is what we know. So the mole fraction of solvent will be equal to 1 minus mole fraction of the solute. So this value we can write this as 1 minus, means X solvent as 1 minus X solute, all into, they multiplied into P naught. Now the relative lowering in vapor pressure, which we defined here as P naught minus PS divided by P naught. So P naught minus PS divided by P naught, this will be equal to X solute. How will this be equal to X solute? Because P naught, if you write the value of P naught is here, and PS is what? 1 minus X solute into P naught. And the P naught you can take common, because P naught is here, P naught is here also. So it will become 1 minus 1 plus X solute whole into P naught divided by P naught. So P naught will get cancelled out, numerator and denominator, and what will be left is 1 minus 1. 1 minus 1 is will again be cancelled out, plus X solute. So X solute is the only thing that is remaining here. So I hope you understand this. Even if you, so this is what we obtain. And now this X solute, the mole fraction, this is mole fraction of the solute. And we know what is the mole fraction. Mole fraction is the number of a solute, is the mole fraction of the number of moles of the solute divided by total number of moles of all the substances present in the solution. This is the binary solution, and its binary solution only one solute and one solvent is there. So the mole fraction of solute will be equal to the number of moles of solute divided by number of moles of solute plus number of moles of solvent. And if this number value, if this is a very diluted solution, if it is, then what can we do? The number of moles of solute will be very smaller, very less as comparison to the number of moles of the solvent. And in the addition and subtraction, if one number is extremely smaller than another number, then you can ignore a smaller number in subtraction and addition. So what will we do? We can ignore this number. So P naught minus PS divided by P naught, this means the relative lowering in vapor pressure will be equal to N divided by N. The small n is the number of moles of the non-volatile solute, and capital N is the number of moles of the solvent which is volatile. Or this is the approximate equation that we have obtained. And from the number of moles, we can, what we know, the number of moles of solute means the mass of solute in gram divided by molar mass of solute, and the number of moles of solvent is mass of solvent in gram divided by molar mass of the solvent. And this way, if the other values are given, one can also calculate the molar mass of solute or solvent, whatever is required, depending on the what value is already given. And if the relative lowering in vapor pressure or even lowering in vapor pressure is given, and the vapor pressure of pure solvent is given, so depending on what values are given, what is to be calculated, you can calculate those values. Means you can simplify this one again further. So number of mass of solute in gram divided by number of moles of solute whole divided by number mass of solvent in gram divided by molar mass of the solvent. However, this is the approximate 1. This is what we have made approximation, and what approximation we have made here is the number of moles of solute is very smaller in comparison to the number of moles of the solvent. Means the solution is extremely dilute. Now what can we do? Even if you don't want to make such approximations, what you can do is just reverse it, make numerator denominator, denominator numerator. So means you divide this left hand side also, this entire thing you, and this is also means you just change their position. So if I make P naught divided by P naught minus PS is equal to N plus N divided by N. I can write it mathematically, there is no R. If this is correct, this will also be correct. Means what we know, 2 by 3 is equal to 4 by 6. This is what we know. So 2 by 3 is equal to 4 by 6. It means 3 by 2 is equal to 6 by 4. So mathematically one can write it. So mathematically this is what we have written here. And now a small n plus capital N divided by small n. And this we can further simplify it. This we can write small n divided by small n plus capital N divided by capital N. And a smaller n, what it will be equal to 1. So what we obtain here is 1 plus capital N by small n. And so the capital N divided by smaller n will be equal to P naught minus P naught divided by PS. And this thing which was in plus, it will go into minus, now minus. And after simplification, what will be actually, this will be P naught minus P naught plus PS divided by P naught minus PS. So P naught plus P naught and minus P naught will be cancelled out. So plus PS will be left over. So plus PS divided by P naught minus PS. So again now reverse it. So reverse what can do? P naught minus PS. This I reverse it again. P naught minus PS divided by PS will be equal to this. A smaller n divided by capital N. This is what. And the difference here is, instead of P naught here, this P naught, if you write PS here, you will get this equation, the same equation. You will get just what is P naught, you will replace with the PS. You will get this thing, and this is the exact solution. This is exactly what we will obtain. There is no approximation that is made here. And anyway, what we know is the solution. Usually we take very light diluted solution and very diluted solution. The P naught and PS, they are not much different. Only what we will see the difference is very marginal, very nominal difference that we observe. Anyway, let us now further go. Whatever I have suggested here, that see that for this equation. So P naught minus PS divided by PS will be equal to this number of moles of solute. The smaller n is the number of moles of non-volatile solute. The solute, just simply say solute. And the solute is non-volatile, that we know. So this number of moles will be equal to mass of the solute in gram divided by molar mass of the solute. So this is what I have written here. Mass of solute in gram divided by molar mass. And this then capital N. Capital N is the mass of solvent in gram divided by molar mass of the solvent. And that will be actually whole divided by this. And then if you simplify, it will become capital M. That the molar mass of this will go into the numerator, and the W, this will be in the denominator. The capital W. Capital W here is the mass of the solvent that is present in the solution, and capital M is the molar mass of the solvent. Now the molar mass, this mass of the solvent in gram that we have taken here, because the mass of the solvent in gram or any substance we take in gram to calculate the number of moles. However, if you want to convert this into the molality, molality is one of the concentration terms that we know. So if you want to convert this into the molality, you have to convert the mass into the kilogram, because there in the formula what we consider the mass of solvent in kilogram. So to do that, we make certain mathematical tricks. So what we do, so this is the number that we get, and with that I can multiply with 1000 and divided by 1000, which I can also divide. So W divided by 1000, W divided by 1000 is what? This is the mass of solvent in kilogram. So W divided by 1000, this divided by the mass of the solvent in kilogram. A mass of the solvent in kilogram. And this is what W by M is the number of moles of the solute. And number of moles of the solute divided by mass of the solute in kilogram is molality. So this W by M into 1000 by capital W, this is what that entire thing that I can write as molality, and what is left is the capital M on the numerator and 1000 in denominator. This is what is left over. So what I get, the formula is this: P naught minus Ps divided by Ps is equal to molality into capital M. The capital M here is, again I am repeating, this is the molar mass of the solvent, which is a volatile component of the solution, divided by 1000, and a capital W, anyway those things that we know. Now if the one thing is like this thing, just you remember, if the solute and the particles it gets dissociated or associated, then we introduce one factor which we call one half factor, and then that one half factor actually we multiply the colligative property actually. So P naught minus Ps, if any association or dissociation is happening, so P naught minus Ps divided by Ps. This we can also call as relative lowering in vapor pressure, which will be roughly closely equal to P naught minus Ps divided by P naught, because Ps and P naught are much not different. Though P naught Ps is smaller, but that is not much smaller than the P naught. So anyway, now that P naught minus Ps divided by Ps, we can also write finally in final equation I into molality. This is the molality into molar mass of the solvent divided by 1000 gram. So whatever the colligative property, these values you get, so you can just multiply that one half factor I with that, and you will get the experimental value, experimental colligative property. Now let's just look into this problem. The vapor pressure of pure benzene at certain temperature is 0.85 bar. A non-volatile, non-electrolyte solute. Why non-electrolyte is written? Because electrolytes, what we know, electrolytes, they get electrolytes get dissociated into the aqueous medium. And if I am saying non-electrolyte, means this substance, whatever this substance is, it will not be dissociated into the aqueous medium or aqueous solution. So that is why non-electrolyte is solid, weighing 0.5 grams. So what is the solid? And solid means it is non-volatile, and what is its mass? 0.5 gram. And this is the solute, because and the benzene is the solvent, because this is the liquid, and it's when added to 39 gram of benzene, and you can see the mass of the is larger. So again, this benzene is, one can find out is the solvent here. The molar mass of benzene you can also calculate, but it is given here in the question, 78 gram per mole. And vapor pressure of solution then is, so after adding this solute, the vapor pressure of the solution decreases and it becomes 0.845. Now you can see this, compare these values, 0.85 to 0.845. So difference is 0.05. So this is a very small difference. That is why we would use this equation, or even if you write P naught in place of Ps, it won't affect the value by a significant amount. So anyway, let us solve. So what is the molar mass of the solid substance? So the question is, we have to calculate the molar mass. And the molar mass, to calculate the molar mass, what we have to resort to this equation. This one. P naught minus Ps divided by Ps, this. And from here, the value of W is given, capital W is given, benzene solvent molar mass is given. This we have to calculate, and this entire everything is given already. So the only up to here we will calculate. So what can we, even if you don't remember this equation, if you, this one you remember, and you should remember this, and if you remember this, everything you can find out, you can derive very easily. So n divided by n we can use. So P naught minus Ps divided by Ps is equal to a smaller n divided by capital N. A smaller n is the number of moles of solute divided by this capital number of moles of the solvent. And this we can write as P naught minus Ps divided by Ps, and this is smaller n, the smaller W divided by the smaller n, the mass of the solute in gram divided by molar mass of the solute, into, and this capital N, this W, capital N is W, capital W divided by capital N. So capital W is the mass of solvent in gram divided by molar mass of the solvent. The capital M is the molar mass of the solvent. Now then, from here, what can I write? A smaller n will be equal to here. If this will go this side, so what can I do? So this equation will be reversed. So it will be equal to Ps divided by P naught minus Ps, because this is in this side in division, so it will go into multiplication. This is multiplication on the left hand side, it will go into the division. And the m is in division, it will go into the multiplication this side, or whatever the 1 into m. So this is m. M is Ps minus P naught minus Ps. whole into and the rest of the things. A smaller w into m, a smaller w into m is still there and divided by capital W. This is not going to change. So now I can put the values. PS value of PS is already given. The vapor pressure of the solution 0.845 bar divided by P naught. P naught is the vapor pressure of the pure solvent 0.85 bar minus this PS. Again, the value that we can write here into the molar mass of the solvent 78 gram per mole into mass of the solute in gram, and mass of the solute this is 0.5, so 0.5 I have written divided by capital W, mass of the solvent in gram, and mass of the solvent in gram is 39 gram here, and that value I put. And so what I get, I calculate it is 0. This will be 0.845 divided by 0.005. This is 0.005. You can see how smaller this difference is. And this is 39 and divided by 39. This is equal to 169 gram per mole. Please remember this smaller m in this equation I am representing as the molar mass of the solute. But many times in many books and somewhere even I myself earlier have also denoted molality as a smaller m. So if the smaller m is here, that is given here, you should not later get confused that this is the molality. No, this is not molality. This is the molar mass of the solvent. For the molality, I have written molality explicitly. Otherwise, people write M1 and M2, M1 and M2. That is also but is being confusing. So I have actually thought to write it in this way. Anyway, if whatever the more convenient to you, you can use that notation. That is not of much importance. You can represent molality as M and the molar mass of the solute as any other notations, whatever M2, M1 or any other thing if you want to write, even A, T, anything you can write. And you can write it and so that you don't get confused later on. Now the third colligative property that we are interested in is the depression of freezing point. The freezing point, we know what is the freezing point. The temperature at which a liquid gets converted actually get transformed into the solid phase. It is called the freezing point. And if the solid gets converted into the liquid, the same thing we call the melting point. So the melting point is of a solid and freezing point is of a liquid. And these both the points that this temperature is the same. Whether it's the melting point and freezing point for a particular pure substance, it is the same value. The only thing is when I represent melting point, I am going from solid to liquid. And if I am saying freezing point, so I am going from liquid to the solid state. It is observed that the freezing, so depression of freezing point, a depression means the what? Depression means going down, something is going down, it is lowering, kind of lowering as well. So this we call depression, it is going down. So depression of freezing point means if you add non-volatile solute to a solvent, means if you are making a solution by adding non-volatile solute, it means now the solution, whatever the solution, you can also freeze, and this solution will now freeze at lower temperature, not at the normal temperature. A normal boiling point. A normal boiling point is the boiling point of the solvent. And now you have added just only the small amount of the solute because it is a dilute solution. So it is observed that the freezing point of a solution is always less than the freezing point of the pure solvent. This is the experimental value, this is what experimental people have observed. This is because of the lowering of vapor pressure of the solution as compared to the pure solvent. And how the lowering of vapor pressure, because we have read the lowering of vapor pressure just now. If you add solute, the vapor pressure gets lower. Vapor pressure of the solution is lower than the vapor pressure of the pure solvent. And how this decrease in vapor pressure leads to the depression in the freezing point. This is what is very important to understand. And please pay attention. This is what I have seen. Even some teachers get confused. And I had this, and I don't want to. And so let us see this. If we focus on this graph first, before focusing on this graph, let us understand how the freezing point or melting point is defined. A freezing point or melting point is defined as a temperature at which the vapor pressure of the liquid and vapor pressure of the solid becomes equal. And so if it is this is the liquid solvent, and if you reach at this point, what you will see, this is the vapor pressure, the gaseous pressure, the vapor pressure up to here, you see no vapor pressure, this is a solid. So the vapor pressure at this point, you see the vapor pressure, and here it is frozen state. This means the frozen solvent means it is what? It is a solid solvent. The solid solvent, its vapor pressure is this, and at the same point, liquid is also meeting at this point, liquid solvent. And so at this point, the vapor pressure of the liquid is also same. So this point in temperature, this is the vapor pressure versus temperature graph. And means if you cool down a liquid, and why cooling down means I am going decreasing the temperature. Cooling, while cooling down the liquid, what will happen? The vapor pressure will also decrease. And once you will reach this point, what will you see? This liquid will get converted into the solid, and this point is what point? When the vapor pressure of the liquid and the solid is both equal. Now, if it is solution, so what we know for the solutions, the solutions vapor pressure is lower than the vapor pressure of the pure liquid. So the graph of the solution will go down from this graph. So this is what suppose the vapor pressure, the graph of the vapor pressure of the solution is. So now when you reach here to this graph, what will happen? You, at this point, something which is even the lower temperature, at this point, what will you see? The vapor pressure of the frozen solvent, the solution, is equal, the vapor pressure of the solid will be equal to the vapor pressure of the solution. And solid means the frozen solution here. In this case, it is the frozen solution that will be equal to this. And so what we see, actually this much difference, this difference in the temperature is called the depression in the freezing point. So depression means a decrease in the freezing point. And why it is thus, and this point actually it connects. And I hope this is clear, because the vapor, this why the means this is the pure solvent and its graph goes below to the pure liquid, and so this is what it is here. And not only that, if you want to see the pure solvent, in the pure solvent, some way this you understand, if the pure solvent is there in the frozen state, and if the suppose an ice, if take an example of ice, its vapor pressure at 0 degrees centigrade will be more than the vapor pressure at suppose -1 degree centigrade. If I say, one can easily understand. And now if I add, and ice is the pure, suppose pure water is converted into the ice. Now I add very small amount of some solid, or maybe suppose NaCl or any solid, glucose, the undissociable solid. If I add glucose or sucrose to it, what will I see? The vapor pressure is decreased. The vapor pressure is decreased means what? Now the vapor pressure of this solution at 0 degree centigrade, when if it was pure, it was equal to the vapor pressure of ice. It is not that much. It is lower than that. And lower than that, it means what? Where it is going? So this vapor pressure of the solution will be equal to the vapor pressure of ice, which is low at the lower temperature below 0 degree centigrade. I hope it is clear. So this is how we observe the depression in the freezing point. The freezing point is a temperature at which, again, I'm just going to repeat it, just read it out. The freezing point is the temperature at which the liquid and the solid states of a substance are in equilibrium with each other. Solid and liquid are in equilibrium with each other, and that is what the freezing point of a substance is, the temperature at which the vapor pressure of the substance in its liquid phase is equal to its vapor pressure in the solid phase. A solution will freeze when its vapor pressure equals the vapor pressure of the pure solvent, the very important point that I said. According to Raoult's law, when a non-volatile solid is added to the solvent, its vapor pressure decreases. And now it would become equal to that of the solid solvent at lower temperature. So the solid solvent, whatever its vapor pressure was at lower temperature, to that lower temperature it will correspond when you add some amount of solute to it. The depression in freezing point delta TF of a solvent is the difference in the freezing point of the pure solvent. The freezing point, suppose the freezing point of pure solvent is T0F, and the freezing point of the solution is TF. So the depression in freezing point delta TF will be equal to the freezing point which was earlier for the pure solvent minus freezing point of the solution. And this difference is called the depression in the freezing point. This is not relative depression in the freezing point. Please remember, this is only the depression in the freezing point. In the case of vapor pressure, relative lowering in vapor pressure is the colligative property. It is not the lowering in vapor pressure is not the colligative property. What is the colligative property? Relative lowering in the vapor pressure. But in the for the case of freezing point, it is just the depression in the freezing point is the colligative property. It is not relative depression. So please remember, don't get confused with the two things. The depression in freezing point is directly proportional to the lowering of vapor pressure. This is what we know. So relative. So delta TF is directly proportional to P naught minus PS, as we have seen that the lowering in vapor pressure will be more when the difference lowering depression in freezing point will be more when the lowering in vapor pressure will be more. This is how this graph correlates. And so what we know, the finally what we get, so this relative lowering in vapor pressure, we have found out it is proportional to the molality. And the molality, this equation we have already seen. The lowering in vapor pressure is proportional to the molality, and this value, or even from here we can get the molality, the same thing. And this value anyway, P naught of PS is a constant at a given concentration. So this what we get. So finally what we obtain is the depression in the freezing point is directly proportional to the molality and molality of the solute. Anyway, molality of the solution that we defined, or molality for the this for the dilute solutions. And once you remove the proportionality, you have to add certain constant, and this constant is here that we denote as Kf. So delta Tf, the lower depression in the freezing point, is equal to Kf into molality, because delta Tf was proportional to the molality. This Kf is called freezing point depression constant, or the molar depression constant, because this is the molality. So molar depression constant or cryoscopic constant. Cryoscopic constant, the term you know, it is about the frozen state at the lower temperature. This term means, so the molality and molality of the solution is equal to the number of moles of solute per 1000 gram of the solvent. Per 1000 gram means 1 kilogram of the solvent. Per kilogram of the solvent, delta TF is the depression in the freezing point we have just defined. Now what can I write is delta TF is equal to Kf, this Kf and the molality, since molality is defined as number of moles of solute divided by mass of the solvent in kilogram. And this is per 1000 grams, so mass of the solvent, if it is given in the gram, so I'll divide it with the 1000. So number of moles, this is what we know, number of moles of solute is equal to the mass of solute in gram divided by molar mass of solute. So delta TF will be equal to Kf into a smaller w divided by a smaller m. A smaller w again is the mass of the solute, and a smaller m is the molar mass of the solute, divided by capital W. This value is in gram, and to make it kilogram, it is divided with 1000. And so what I get is the value of m. I can obtain the value of m will be equal to Kf. This value m, so this m will come this side, so Kf will become Kf divided by delta Tf. And so from here you can simply get it. M is equal to Kf into a smaller w into 1000, because this will go up, this will go into the numerator, so into 1000 divided by delta Tf. If I keep this, bring this m here, so this Tf will be in the division on the right hand side. So this delta Tf in the division, and delta W is already in the division, is the mass in the of the solvent in the gram. So means, if from this equation, what can we do? Even if you do not know the molar mass of the solute, if you just add one solute, you do not know what is the molar mass. If you want to calculate molar mass of that solute, and this is what this method actually people initially used when the spectroscopic techniques, particularly the mass spectrometry, was not there. So people used to calculate molar mass of such compounds using this colligative properties, and this is what this is why it was very useful. initially. So the molar mass, this way one can also calculate the molar mass of the solute without knowing, and from the molar mass one can also correlate it at the chart of molar masses of all the sub elements or the substances, then you can actually match it and you can guess it which substance it might be. So the aim, this formula aim that we obtain is Kf. Kf is the freezing point depression constant or the molar depression constant and the cryogenic constant. You should remember all these three terms because sometimes in the numerical problem, sometimes it may be written the cryogenic constant for this solvent is this. So you should not get confused that it is something else. It is actually Kf. If the molar depression constant is written, it is then again it is also Kf. Freezing point depression constant is also Kf. So whatever the term is that is used in the numerical problems, that should not be confused with. So now what we get, the W, everything, this is the depression in the freezing point, and what we get, this equation you should remember. So where these terms that we know, and the value of Kf, people calculate it experimentally. The derivation is not given, not required for us. This formula, if you can remember, that would be nice. So you remember the value of Kf can be calculated from this equation. This is R, which is the gas constant we know, and T naught F is what? The normal freezing point of pure solvent. So this is the freezing point of T naught F is the freezing point of the solvent we have already defined here. This place. Whole square divided by 1000 into LF. LF is the latent heat of fusion per gram, latent heat of fusion or latent heat of melting. They are both the same. So LF is the latent heat of fusion per gram of the solvent. And similarly, we can also obtain this equation. This triple R into M. M is the molar mass of the solvent. R is the same terminology that we are using for this gas constant. T naught F we know it is defined here. The square divided by 1000 to delta H fusion. This is what? The enthalpy of fusion. Delta H fusion is the enthalpy of fusion of pure solvent. Sorry. And Kf, the freezing point depression constant or the molar depression constant or the cryogenic constant for the pure water is experimentally found to be 1.86 Kelvin kilogram per mole. You can define it here from here, Kelvin kilogram per mole. The Kf, what is this? Delta TF unit is Kelvin. Molality is what? Kilogram. Molality is what? Mole per kilogram in it. So what is the kilogram? This which is in division will go into the multiplication, and the mole was in the numerator. So the multiplication, it will be division. So this is what we get. The unit you can define from this equation. You can find out the unit of Kf as well. So easy to find out. Now let us look couple of numerical problems on this concept. So 0.45 gram of ethylene glycol molecular formula is this. And if you remember the structure, it's ethylene glycol. If you know ethylene molecule, CH3, two hydrogen of two different carbons you replace with the OH group. That is what the ethylene glycol you find. So is 45 gram of ethylene glycol is mixed with 600 gram of water. So which one is solvent? This water is solvent. Its mass is more, its amount is more. Calculate first what? The freezing point depression, and B, freezing point of the solution. The first freezing point of depression of the water that you have to calculate. So what is given? The mass of the ethylene glycol is given. Mass of what? The solute is given. The molar mass of the ethylene glycol we can calculate very easily because the molecular formula is given. So 2 carbon atoms. So 2 carbon atoms, its mass will be 2 into 12. It is 24 plus 6 hydrogen. 6 hydrogen is 6 into 1 because 1 hydrogen atom, its mass is 1 atomic unit or 1 gram per mole. So it is 6. So 24 into 6 is 30 and 2 oxygen. It is 16 into 2, 32. 30 plus 32 is 62. So 62 that we obtain here. So now what can be the molality of the solution with respect to the ethylene glycol? we can obtain what is the molality. Molality is the moles of ethylene glycol. So moles of ethylene glycol we can obtain. How will we obtain moles of ethylene glycol? It is the mass of ethylene glycol divided by molar mass of ethylene glycol. The mass of ethylene glycol that is given in the question is 45 gram, and the molar mass of ethylene glycol is 62 gram per mole that we have just calculated, divided by the molar mass of the water or solvent in kilogram, and solvent here is water, so mass of water in a kilogram, and a 1600 gram of water is given. To convert into the kilogram, what we do, we divide this number with the 1000 gram per kilogram, because 1 kilogram is equal to 1000 gram, so we write 1000 gram per kilogram, and the 600 gram divided by 1000 gram per kilogram is what? So after solving this, you get 0.73 mole. This per mole will go above, it will become mole, and this gram will get cancelled out, and this gram and this gram will be cancelled out. The kilogram will be left. So this kilogram will be up here in this case, at here in the denominator. So 0.73 divided by 0.6 will, this is 1.2 mole per kilogram. This is the molality. Now the depression in freezing point, one can calculate the depression in freezing point. The formula is very simple. The formula is what? Delta TF is equal to Kf into molality. So this formula will apply. The delta TF is equal to Kf into molality. Molality we have just calculated. Kf value is already known to us. This Kf value for water is here, 1.86 kilo Kelvin per 1.86 Kelvin kilogram per mole is the value of Kf for water. So now we'll put these two values, value of Kf 1.86 Kelvin kg per mole into molality 1.2 mole per kilogram into kilogram cancelled out, per mole into mole cancelled out. What is left is only Kelvin. So 1.8 into 1.2 Kelvin, and 1.8 into 1.8 2 is 2.2 Kelvin. This is what the depression in the freezing point. So this must, by this much temperature means 2.2 Kelvin difference, temperature difference is equal to the 2.2 degree centigrade temperature. So anyway, so freezing point, well, now we can calculate, because we know the how much, by what much amount of the value freezing point will be decreased. And the freezing point of water we already know, it is 0 degree centigrade. 0 degree centigrade in Kelvin is 273.15 Kelvin. So 273.15 Kelvin, this state we know delta TF is equal to T naught F minus TF. So TF is, will be equal to T naught F minus T naught F minus delta TF. Even if you don't remember this formula, you can just go by intuition, common sense. So this is the freezing point, and this is the depression in the freezing point. And so the depression is by this much amount, the freezing point has changed and it is decreased. So it is minus, so the 273.15 Kelvin minus 2.2 Kelvin is 270.95 Kelvin. And if you have to calculate it in a degree centigrade, so what would you do? 2.2 Kelvin temperature difference is equal to 2.2 degree centigrade difference. So we'll do what? The 0 degree centigrade minus 2.2 degree centigrade means that this, the freezing point will be minus 2.2 degree centigrade on the Celsius scale. Now let us see this problem. The next problem, 1.0 gram of non-electrolyte solute dissolved in 15 gram of benzene, lower the freezing point of benzene by 0.5 Kelvin. The freezing point depression constant of benzene is 5.12 kilogram per mole. Find the molar mass of the solute. So what we will get, the molar mass of the solute, the direct formula that we apply will be this one. So the molar mass of the solute will be equal to M is equal to Kf into W into 1000, Kf into W into 1000 divided by delta Tf into W, delta Tf into W. This value that we can put directly. The value of Kf is given here, the depression constant, freezing point depression constant 5.12 Kelvin kilogram per mole into the mass of the solute. And what is the mass of the solute? 1.00 gram of non-electrolyte solute. So 1 gram into 1000. This is what is already there, and this is 1000 is what? Gram per kilogram, because this 1000 we have used to convert the weight in, which was in gram into the kilogram. This is 1,000 gram per kilogram. With the unit we can write divided by delta TF. Delta TF is what? Delta TF is this value. The lower freezing point by it has lowered freezing point by this means that this is the difference that is given. So this is 0.4 kilocalorie, 0.4 Kelvin. This is the lowering in the freezing point, and into the mass of the solvent in gram, 50 grams. So what we get after solving, 256 gram per mole. So the molar mass of the solute is what? 256 gram per mole. And if you have a chart, you can compare which molecule has the molar mass equal to 256 gram per mole. And with that, you can roughly have idea that this molecule might be this one. However, you should remember that different molecules can have the same molar mass. So to have, sometimes it also be confusing because two molecules will have same molar mass. Then how will you determine which molecule it is? Then they will also study some chemical properties, because certain molecules will give this kind of reaction, and the other molecule which has same molar mass will give different type of chemical reactions. So you can chemically distinguish them. If you cannot distinguish them based on the physical property, that is the molar mass, then what will you do? You add some chemical property to chemically distinguish the two molecules. So the three is there, you can do that. Now the elevation in the boiling point is another colligative property that is we have just seen, or the elevation of boiling point is sometimes in. So what we see, elevation means increase. So if you add solute to a solvent, what you see after adding the solute, the boiling point of that solute is increased. And that boiling point, by whatever amount that it is increased, is called the elevation in the boiling point. So boiling point, why it is increased? Because if you add the solute, vapor pressure decreased. So at the 100 degrees centigrade, suppose it is water, the 100 degrees centigrade, its vapor pressure should be equal to 1 atmospheric pressure. This is how the vapor pressure is defined. The vapor pressure is what? Vapor pressure of a liquid is, boiling point of a liquid is defined as the temperature at which vapor pressure of this liquid becomes equal to the 1 atmospheric pressure in a closed container. So this is how. And if suppose if you add certain solute, a small amount of non-volatile solute, what you observe, the vapor pressure decreased. So vapor pressure of solute is now less, and less means what? The vapor pressure is less than 1 atmospheric pressure. To get that pressure back, what you will have to do? You will have to further heat that solution. And you have to further heat that solution, so it will go to a higher temperature. The temperature will be raised, and by whatever amount it is raised is called the elevation in the boiling point. So boiling point of a liquid is defined as the temperature at which its vapor pressure becomes equal to atmospheric pressure. I have already said, for example, water boils at 373.15 Kelvin. Because at this temperature, the vapor pressure of water is 1.013 bar, which is 1 atmospheric pressure. Since the addition of non-volatile solute lowers the vapor pressure of the solvent, solution always has lower vapor pressure than the pure solvent, and hence it must be heated to a higher temperature to make its vapor pressure equal to the atmospheric pressure. If you look at this graph, the vapor pressure versus temperature graph, what we know, the pure solvent vapor pressure is more. And this, suppose this bar is 1 atmospheric pressure. So if you heat a solvent, what you get at a particular temperature, suppose this T naught B, if you find it is the boiling point of the solvent, the pure solvent. However, at this temperature, what we'll see, the vapor pressure is lower. Vapor pressure is lower means it has certain this value only, because of the addition of the solute, vapor pressure has gone down. To make this vapor pressure further equal to 1 atmospheric pressure, we have to heat it further, because the nature of gas is the same. So this is how you have to heat it. The nature is not same. So if this is the graph, to get this value equal, so you can just project this here, and if project means this is what the TB is the boiling point of the solution. The similar thing, if you remember, we have seen in the case of depression in the freezing point as well. The nature of graph is not going to change. What we see, the vapor pressure of the solution was already down at all the temperature. So even at the lower temperature, it will down. So it will just extrapolate it. It will reach it here, the frozen point, freezing point of the pure solvent. Here it will hit it. These are all the freezing point at different vapor pressures. Anyway, so means sorry, this is a frozen solvent. This is a frozen solvent, and this is the freezing point of the pure solvent. So it meet here, so that is why we defined the depression. Anyway, I hope it is very clear. I am trying to explain it more and more because these points are sometimes I have seen the students gets confused with this. Why elevation in boiling point? Why depression in the freezing point? What is the real concept? They get confused. Not only students, I have seen some teachers also get confused. That is why I try to explain it even more. So thus, what we see, the seawater boils at higher temperature than the distilled water. Similarly, seawater, if you take seawater, it will freeze at lower temperature than the pure water. And thus the seawater also boils at higher temperature than the distilled water or the pure water. So if T naught B is the boiling point of the solvent, the pure solvent, and TB is the boiling point of the solution, then what will the difference in the boiling point delta TB will be what? This is called the elevation of the boiling point because it will be increased value. So the initial is value minus TB is what it is defined as the I think there is some problem. So, so this how it is defined anyway. So delta TB is T naught B minus TB. The elevation of the boiling point is directly proportional to the lowering of the vapor pressure. That is delta TB is proportional to P naught minus P. And what we know, this is proportional to the molality that we have already seen. This is proportional to delta TB is proportional to P naught minus P, lowering in vapor pressure. So delta TB will be proportional, and the P naught minus P is proportional to the molality. So this is proportional to delta TB is proportional to the molality, and so delta TB will be equal to, if we remove proportionality, we add certain constant value, and this is what the Kb, we add introduce Kb, so delta TB is equal to Kb into molality for this is for the dilute solutions. And where molarity of the solution is equal to the number of moles of solute per 1000 gram of the solvent, we know Kb is the boiling point elevation constant, boiling point elevation, the increase constant, or molar elevation constant by molar, because molality we have added there, it has its relation with the molality, or ebullioscopy constant. Ebullioscopy constant is also the term that is used parallelly for boiling point elevation constant, and delta TB is the elevation in the boiling point. Note that the similar to the lowering of vapor pressure, the elevation of boiling point also depends on the number of solute molecules rather than their nature, and similar to this formula that we have obtained earlier for the freezing point depression, we can also obtain the M, the molar mass from this, and the similar formula we will obtain here. So how it is derived, I am not explaining it because I have already explained because of freezing point. So similar, in the similar way, you can obtain this formula. And when this formula, and so delta TB is equal to 1000 into Kp into a small w. A small w is the mass of the solute in gram divided by smaller m into capital W, or a smaller m is equal to, from here, or to get 1000 into Kb into a small w divided by delta TB into capital W. This is the mass of the solvent in gram. And now this formula, the Kb is equal to similar to Kf, that we get similar value for this similar equation, which is equal to R into T naught B square. The only thing is there we use the freezing point. This is the freezing point, the temperature. Here we use the boiling point of the pure solvent. So this is the boiling point of the pure solvent. So R T naught B whole square, where T naught B is the boiling point of pure solvent divided by 1000 LB. Sorry, this is LB. Oh, LB or LV, one can write. LV, this is LV. LV is what? The latent heat of evaporation of the pure solvent in calorie per gram. And one can write similarly, this value will be equal to this 0.002, means R divided by this 1000, because these two are constant. R is a gas constant that we know its value, and that value divided by 1000, one can write 0.002, and the del TB naught square divided by LB, or this will be equal to RM, another formula, TB naught square divided by 1000 delta Dev H means the enthalpy of vaporization. This is enthalpy of vaporization, delta H vaporization. And the kV value for water is 0.5 Kelvin kg per mole. And the value, how will get this unit? Again, from this equation, you can get the unit for kb as well. It will be the unit of temperature divided by unit of molality, and unit of molality is mole per kg. So the Kelvin per Kelvin kg per mole will be the unit of kb. Now let us look this question. 0.18 gram of glucose, its molecular formula is 6H12O6, is dissolved in 1 kilogram of water in a saucepan. At what temperature will water boil? At 1.013 bar pressure. This is the atmospheric pressure. And what it is asked? It is asked by at what temperature. Now the solution will boil. So Kb for water is 0.5 Kelvin kilogram per mole. So let us look into this problem. So what will we do first? First, we will calculate the moles of glucose. Number of moles of glucose. Why? Because we need to calculate the molality. The number of moles of glucose is the mass of the glucose in gram divided by molar mass of the glucose. And molar mass of glucose, if you will calculate, 12 into 6 plus 12 plus 6 into 16, with this, that will be equal to 180. So 180 gram per mole. So 18 gram divided by 180 gram per mole is what we write, is equal to 0.1 mole. This is divided by this is 0.1, and this is mole. Gram will be cancelled out. Mass of the solvent will be is what? It is already given 1 kilogram. So we can calculate molality. Molality is number of moles of solute divided by mass of the solvent in kilogram. And for water, change in boiling point, that we can calculate a delta change in boiling point, delta TB is equal to Kb into molality. Molality we have just calculated, and the value of Kb is already given in the question, 0.52 Kelvin kilogram per mole, 0.52 Kelvin kilogram per mole into this molality value. So what we get, this delta TB is equal to 0.052 Kelvin. So this is by this much amount the boiling point will increase. So since this by this much amount boiling point will be increased, since water boils at 373.15 Kelvin, means at 100 degrees centigrade at 1.013 bar, means the atmospheric pressure, the boiling point of the solution will be equal to the boiling point of pure water plus elevation in boiling point, and boiling point of pure water is 373.15 plus this is the elevation in boiling point, so it is 373.202 Kelvin. And this will be the answer now. The next question is the boiling point of benzene is 353.23 Kelvin when 1.18 gram of non-volatile solute was dissolved in 90 gram of benzene. So the mass of the solute is given and the mass of the solvent is also given. And what is given? The boiling point of the benzene is also given, pure benzene. The boiling point is raised to 354.11. So raised to this means what will be the increase? The elevation in the boiling point will be this value divided minus this value. Because by this is raised to become this. It is raised to become this. So how much it is raised? By what amount it is raised? That is the elevation in the boiling point. So elevation in boiling point delta TB will be equal to 354.11 minus 353.22 Kelvin. When I calculate the molar mass of the solute, so molar mass of the solute we have to calculate. Kb for the benzene is 2.53 Kelvin kilogram per mole, which is what given. So the formula that we will apply here is this formula. M is equal to the molar mass of the solute is equal to 1000 into Kb into a small w mass of the solute divided by delta TB into capital W mass of the solvent. So now we can put the value, this formula that is already written here. So this we can put different values that is already given. The value of Kb is what? Is 2.53 Kelvin kg per mole. This I have written. Then W, mass of the solute in gram, it is 1.8 gram into the 1000. This 1000 is what is not number. It actually it comes by for converting this mass of the solvent into the kilogram. So that kilogram is, this is the gram per kg with the unit divided by delta TB. Delta TB we can have calculated here. It will, the elevation in boiling point will be equal to the final boiling point minus the initial boiling point, so 0.88. The 0.88 value is written here into 90 gram. This is value capital W, mass of the benzene, that is solvent in the gram. And then after solving, what we get, 58 gram per mole. Therefore, molar mass of the solute is 58 gram per mole, that we obtained here from this thing. Now, this is the last point. Very small thing is left over. Should I? So this abnormal colligative properties is one thing. We obtain abnormal colligative properties when we see certain association or dissociation in the molecules or in the solutes. Since colligative properties depend upon the number of particles of the solute, in some cases where the solute associates or dissociates, because this property depends on the number of particles, and suppose if the particle associates, the effective number of particles are now not same as we have calculated earlier before adding it, because after adding it, suppose dissociates, the number increase, or if the two particles or many particles associate, they aggregate, then also the number of particles is less than the particles that we have calculated theoretically, and this much particles would be there. What does it mean? Suppose you added 1.1 mole of a substance in a solvent, a solute in a solvent, specified, suppose 1 kilogram of the solvent. A 0.1 mole if you have added, it means you have added 6.023 into 10 to the power 22 22 particles, because this is 23, 6.22 into 10 to the power 23 is 1 mole. So 6.22 into 10 to the power 22 will be 0.1 mole. So this much particles you think that you have added, and because of that you will feel that this should be the colligative property. But what actually happened is this, suppose this particle gets dissociated, so the total number of particles will be more than what we have calculated, actually 6.22 into 10 to the power 22. Or if these particles, some of these particles aggregated, they gets associated, what will happen? The total number of particles will be less than this theoretically calculated particles based on the number of moles of the solute added. So what we say, in such a cases, the colligative properties that we obtain is different than the theoretically calculated colligative property. And if you use that colligative property, what will happen? It will mislead to a wrong value of the molar mass, because if you that colligative property you measure, and from that you calculate the molar mass, what will happen? The molar mass is not the same molar mass as you have expected, because if the suppose two particles are there, one particle is there dissociated into half, and suppose both the halves of this particle has the same mass, the molar mass now has become half. And this is what we will obtain experimentally. Or if these two particles, suppose exactly two solute molecules, and they get there and they get dimerized, so 2 becomes 1. So if all the particles gets associated, they make a dimer, then what will have, the total number of particles will be half of the theoretically calculated. Then again, what will the molar mass? And if you calculate the colligative property now will correspond to the half number of particles as compared to the theoretically calculated value, and thus the molar mass now will correspond to the double the mole of the actual molar mass. So this is what means it will lead to the abnormal molar mass. Abnormal molar mass is either more or less than the molar mass than the actual value. So since colligative property depends upon the number of particles of the solute, in some cases where solute associates or dissociates in solution, abnormal results for molar masses are obtained. And in 1880, Van 't Hoff, and to get this corrected, in 1880, Van 't Hoff introduced a factor I. This is called the Van 't Hoff factor, to account for the extent of dissociation or association, which is defined as, so the I accounts for the extent of association or dissociation, to what extent association or dissociation has happened. And how will we calculate value of I? Is the observed. Observed means the but the experimentally obtained value. The observed colligative property divided by, or this is also the observed colligative property, the actual colligative property, divided by calculated, means theoretically calculated colligative property. So if you calculated the colligative property, which is different than the theoretically calculated colligative property, it means some association or dissociation is happening. And if that colligative property is more than the theoretically calculated colligative property, it means the particles were dissociating. It was electrolyte. And if the observed or experimentally obtained colligative property is less than the theoretically calculated colligative property based on the number of particles, then what does it mean? It means that the particles were associating into the solution. Particles means the solute particles. Similarly, this is the what we use this formula, or this thing, the I, we can also avoid what? The one-half factor. One-half factor, what is the extent of dissociation or association? We can also calculate it as normal molar mass divided by abnormal molar mass. Normal molar mass here is theoretically calculated molar mass. This we calculate from the molecular formula. And from the molecular formula, whatever the mass that you are expecting, there is the normal molar mass. And abnormal molar mass is what? Because of the association or dissociation, we obtained colligative property corresponding to the actual number of particles present in the solution. And that actual number of particles are now equal to the particles it would have been if there was no association or no dissociation. So what does it mean? That and then that corresponding molar mass that we calculate is called the abnormal molar mass. So the normal molar mass divided by abnormal molar mass means the abnormal molar mass is what? The experimentally observed molar mass. Based on the experimentally observed colligative property, the molar mass that you obtain is the abnormal molar mass, and normal molar mass is from the molecular formula if you calculate it. Or the real molar mass. Even if you don't have the formula, if you know by any method, the real molar mass, that is the normal molar mass. So I can also be calculated from the total number of molecules or the moles after dissociation or association divided by total number of moles or molecules before association or dissociation. And the total number of moles of solute before association or dissociation means when the solute was in the pure form, because as soon as you have added into the solution, it has started aggregating or dissociating. So the total number will be changed. So this is how we obtain the value of I, the one-half factor. Note that the abnormal molar mass is experimentally determined molar mass, and a calculated colligative property is obtained by assuming the non-volatile solute is neither associated nor dissociated. In case of association, value of I is less than unity, that we know. In the case of association, is less than Y, the value of I have explained this. And the case of dissociation, value of I will be more. And how the total number, if the dissociation is happening, the total number of particles observed will be more than the total number of real particles before dissociation. The value of I is more. From this thing, we can calculate if it gets associated, and if it gets associated, total number is less than the number of moles that was present before the association or dissociation. For example, the value of I for aqueous KCl solution, KCl is an electrolyte, the strong electrolyte, is close to 2, while the value of ethanoic acid to benzene is nearly 0.5, because ethanoic acid forms dimer in benzoic acid because of the hydrogen bond forms between two ethanoic acid molecules, and that is what we, and not ethanoic acid, in the benzoic acid, if you add that, it also gets dimerized, because the acid, this formula carboxylic acid groups, these two groups will interact and they will form dimer. Inclusion of one-half factor make the colligative property I times the ideal value that we obtain, and that is why in this equation, if you remember, this colligative property that we have written, this I times lowering in vapor, relative lowering in vapor pressure, becomes I times to the actual value that one would have expected, this value or this value. The similar thing we also obtained for the lowering depression in freezing point. This will become I kf into molality. Depression in freezing point. Elevation in boiling point will become what? It will become I kb into molality. Association of solutes, if you can consider this, a certain solute in solution are found to associate, they eventually lead to decrease in the number of molecular particles in the solution. Thus, it results in decrease in the value of colligative properties. And this is what the colligative property is proportional to the molar mass. This is what we have also. Molar mass is more, then usually the colligative property is less. And this formula we have actually seen many places. This is the colligative property. Now what we see, the molar mass of the solute is here in the denominator. So this is inversely proportional. Similar thing, the another colligative property delta TF, if you look delta TF here, again this molar mass is actually, this one is in the denominator here. The same thing for you can obtain for all other values. If you look at the equations and you will find it. The colligative property is inversely proportional to 1 upon the molar, or inversely proportional to the molar mass of the solute. Therefore, higher values are obtained for molecular masses than the normal value of the unassociated molecule when the association is there. So higher values are obtained because in the case of association, colligative properties, actual property is less than the theoretically calculated property. Then the degree of association we define as alpha, and it is defined as, because association is there and all the molecules do not get associated. They do not take part in association. Only some fraction of molecules, that are particles that is there, particles of the solute, they get associated. So there we need to define a term that is degree of association. It is defined, the degree of association is defined as the fraction of the total number of molecules. Fraction, it's fraction of the total number of molecules which associate to or combine together, resulting in the formation of a bigger molecule or the dimer, trimer, whatever. So this alpha is defined from this formula. This is alpha is equal to I minus 1 divided by 1 divided by m minus 1, where m is the number of particles in the solution. The total number of particles that is present in the solution, this is what m represents. Now, if the solid particles dissociate, so dissociation of solid molecules or the particles, a number of electrolytes that we know dissociates in the solution to give 2 or more particles. And whether the extent of dissociation will also define how many number of particles are there. Whether it is a strong electrolyte, almost 100% dissociate, with more than 95%, or the weak electrolytes, the degree of dissociation that we also see there in the case of weak electrolytes. So electrolytes that get dissociated in the solution, therefore the number of solid particles in solution of such substances is more than the expected value. A number of solid particles more than the expected value means the colligative property will be more than the expected value, or theoretically, or the ideally expected value, the ideal value or the real value. So according to such solution, accordingly such solutions exhibit higher value of colligative properties. Since colligative properties are inversely proportional to molecular masses, therefore molecular mass of such substances are calculated from colligative property will be less than their normal molecule, because the colligative property is more, and colligative property is inversely proportional to the molar mass. So what will happen? Colligative property is more value that we obtain than the theoretically calculated value. So the molar mass that we obtain will be less than the actual molar mass. So now the case of dissociation, we define degree of dissociation, and it is defined as the fraction of total molecules which dissociate into simpler molecules or ions. So the alpha that we define is I minus 1 divided by m minus 1, where m is the number of particles in the solution. So value of this formula, you should remember, alpha is equal to I minus 1. I is what? One-half factor. And how will we calculate I? The formula is already given. Minus 1 and m, that m something that we define. Experiment m here is the number of particles in the solution. It is not the molar mass of the solute in this case, this equation. So introduction of one-half factor modifies the equation for the colligative properties that follow. The relative lowering of vapor pressure will be equal to P1 naught minus P1, or the P naught is simply right. This is for the solute, minus P1 for the solvent. Is divided by P naught is equal to I into X2. X2 that we have, this is a mole fraction of the solute, and now it will become I into X2. And I into X2 is I into N divided by small n plus capital. This is small n, the number of moles of the solute. The osmotic pressure now will be equal to which, if there is no association, dissociation, then osmotic pressure I is equal to CRT, and now it will be equal to I into CRT. The elevation in boiling point will also correspondingly will become I into 1000 kb into molality, and the depression in freezing point will also be multiplied by I, and this is how the formula we obtain. Let us see this numerical problem, and this will be end of this chapter. So 0.2 gram of benzoic acid, this is 6H5COOH dissolved in 25 gram of benzene, so the depression in freezing point equal to 1.62 Kelvin. Molar depression constant for benzene is 4.5 Kelvin kilogram per mole. What is the percentage association of the acid if it forms dimer in the solution? So as I said, acid, like acetic acid, benzoic acid also forms dimer in benzene. So the W that what is given, the mass of the benzoic acid solute 2 gram and mass of the benzene, the solvent is 25 gram, delta TF, the depression in the freezing point is given, that is equal to 1.62 Kelvin, that is here. And now the molar depression constant for the benzene is 4.9 Kelvin kilogram per mole. And this value, this is what the colligative property that is being measured. So K is 4.9 Kelvin kg per mole. And we can directly apply to obtain the molecule, what is the percentage association to the calculated molar mass or that we obtain from this experimentally observed colligative property. What the molar mass that we obtain, let us calculate it from this formula. The molar mass, this formula, to remember, you can go there and see how we have derived it. So this is the formula. M is equal to Kf into W, the mass of solute in gram. This is the molar mass of the solute. W into 1000 divided by delta TF into W. And these values that we write here. And after writing this value, what will you obtain? Actually 241.98 gram per mole. This is what the experimentally observed or the abnormal molar mass. This is the abnormal molar mass because based on the colligative properties that we have obtained this. Thus the experimental molar mass of benzoic acid, or this is the abnormal molar mass of benzoic acid, is 241.98 gram per mole. And now what we know that benzoic acid actually it forms dimer in the benzene. And why it forms dimer in benzene, that we will see later on when we'll study organic chemistry. I'll explain it there. So, but just remember this carboxylic acid, these groups actually associate in the non-polar solvent. Benzene is a non-polar solvent, so it gets associated into the non-polar solvent. In the polar solvent, it gets dissociated, so this gets dissociated in the acetate ion and H plus ion. But that is why it all, in the aqueous solution it behaves as electrolyte, and in the non-polar solvent like benzene, it gets associated. So if X represents the degree of association of the solute, then we would have 1 minus X mole of benzoic acid left. What does it mean? Suppose if a molecule is there, and suppose 5%, 10% of that molecule, suppose you have taken one molecule particular substance and 10% of that particular substance, it gets associated. Means what? The 10% means 0.1 mole of it. So there is something 0.1 fraction. What will be its fraction? It will be 0.1 because 10%, 10 divided by 100 is 0.1. So 0.1 is what? 0.1 is now associated. It forms dimer. Suppose so what will be there? The total number of particles will now correspond to 0.1 divided by 2. So 0.05 and 0.05, and what were the monomers unassociated molecule, unaggregated molecule was 0.9, 90%. So fraction is 0.9. So 0.9 plus now the fraction is plus 0.05 means the 95% of the particle is there. Or the total number of particles one would expect is not the, is different, and to that value only 95% of the particle is there now because of the association. Anyway, let us see this whatever is given. X represents the degree of association of the solute, then we would have 1 minus X mole of benzoic acid left because X is now is involved in association, and X molecules or moles is involved in association means X by 2 will be the number of associated benzoic acid molecules at equilibrium. And now the total number of molecules will be what? The 1 minus X molecules is left over, the particles, and the X by 2 dimeric particles. So the total number of particles will be equal to 1 minus X plus X by 2. Then it's the dimeric particles. So total number of particles is 1 minus X by 2. The total number of moles of particles at equilibrium equals 1/2 factor I, and this is what we know. The 1/2 factors I will be equal to number of molar mass divided by normal molar mass, and the normal molar mass is what? You can, from the benzoic acid, you can calculate the molar mass directly from C6, 12 into 6 plus 5 plus 12 plus 2 into 32 plus 1. It will come 122 gram per mole divided by, this is the abnormal molar mass that we have obtained here from, and 241.98, and this value is what we obtain, and from that we can calculate X by 2, and this X by 2 will be equal to 1 minus 120, this value of I, 1 minus I, and 1 minus I is what? 1 minus 122 divided by 241.98, because these two units are same, so they will cancelled out. So what we get, the X by 2, the value of X by 2 I get is 1 minus this 0.504, so this is 4.496. So x by 2 is 0.496. So x is 2 into 0.496, which is 0.992. 0.992 means what? X is 0.992 means what? The 99.2% of the benzene is dimerized. It is associated. This is the last question of today's class, or this is the last question of this chapter as well. So 0.6 mole, 0.6 ml of acetic acid having density 1.06 gram per mole is dissolved in 1 liter of water. The depression in freezing point observed for this strength of acid was 0.0205 degrees centigrade. Calculate the one-half factor and the dissociation constant of the acid. Now the one-half factor and the dissociation, then we are calling about the dissociation constant, which we know K for this acid. So we can also calculate. Now the complexity of this question has increased. Now, what is the 0.6 ml of acetic acid? But what we know, to calculate the number of moles, we need to obtain the total mass of the solute that is taken. And the value is given, the volume is given, mass is not given, but with the volume, the density is also given. The density and volume is given, then you can calculate the mass. And what we know, the density is equal to mass divided by volume. So volume mass will be equal to density into the volume. And so the number of moles of acetic acid that we calculate is equal to mass of acetic acid divided by molar mass of the acetic acid. And molar mass of acetic acid is 60 that you can obtain from here, from this molecular formula. And the number of moles of acetic acid will, that is what we are calculating, the number of moles, the mass of acetic acid in gram. How you calculate? The volume into the density, and volume 0.6 ml and density is 1.6 gram per ml. So per ml will cancel out. So 1.06 into 0.6 divided by 60 is what? The and this gram will also be cancelled out. This will be equal to 0.0106 mole. And this is number of moles of acetic acid. Now the number of moles of acetic acid, once we know, we can calculate the molality of the solution, because the volume of water is given 1 liter already here, dissolved in 1 liter. So from 1 liter, what we can calculate is the mass of the water in gram, and 1 liter, we know that the density of water is 1 gram per ml. So 1 liter will be equal to 1 liter is equal to 100 ml, and 100 ml is 1 gram per ml. 100 ml will equal to 100 gram, and 100 gram is what? It is nothing but a 1 kilogram. So anyway, so molality will be equal to 0. Number of moles of the solute divided by volume of the solution in kilogram, and this is what we obtain. This will be equal to 1, and so this, the molality is 0.0106 mole per kilogram. And once we know the molality, we can calculate the depression in the freezing point, and depression in the freezing point is given 0.0205. So 0.0205. Anyway, that value we can, so the depression in freezing point. Anyway, so the delta TF is what we obtain is 1.86 Kelvin kg. This value that we have, value of Kf into what? This is the molality. Molality, this is 0.0197 Kelvin. Now what is this? Is the what the experimentally observed colligative property. Sorry, the experimentally observed colligative property is the theoretical colligative property. This is the what the theoretically calculated colligative property that we obtain. And now the one-half factor that we know, the formula observed freezing point, the is observed colligative property. So the observed depression in freezing point divided by calculated depression in the freezing point. The observed depression in the freezing point is this, divided by calculated depression in the freezing point is this. And how we have calculated? From the molarity that we know, and formula that applying that formula. So this is the one-half factor is 1.041. 1.041 means the particles is dissociating. So acetic acid is weak electrolyte, and this is what we what is more, it 0.041 minus 1 is what? This is 0.4041. So this is the weak electrolyte. So around 4% is only dissociating. So acetic acid is weak electrolyte and will dissociate into 2 ions, acetate and hydrogen ions. That is the proton per molecule of the acetic acid. If X is the degree of dissociation of the acetic acid, suppose X is the degree of dissociation, what is the degree of dissociation, the number of molecules dissociated per molecules is called degree of dissociation. If suppose total n number of molecules of acetic acid is given, so for n number of molecules, what will be the dissociation? Nx. So at the equilibrium, so the what will be left over acetic acid, but the remaining amount of acetic acid will be initially it was n number of moles. Now nx is dissociated, so n minus nx. So n if you take common, what will be left is 1 minus x, and nx is what the, if 1 mole of this is dissociated, 1 mole of this is forming, and 1 mole of this is forming, and nx mole of, since this acetic acid is dissociated, so nx mole of this H plus and nx mole of acetate ion will be formed. These kind of examples we have seen in ionic equilibrium. So if you don't remember, you go there and see the concept what is there. So thus total number of moles of the total moles of the particles will be equal to what? At the equilibrium, total number of moles of the particle will be equal to n minus nx plus nx plus nx. So it will be equal to n plus nx, because 1 minus nx and plus 1 nx will be cancelled out. So it will be equal to n in plus nx, and that means n into 1 plus x. And now the I, again we can calculate. I is what? N, the formula is the number of particles theoretically calculated divided by actual number of particles. This is what the theoretically calculated number of particles divided by n, the actual number of particles. So n into this is what? So what we get? I is equal to 1 plus x, and this 1 plus x, what, if you remember, this we have obtained here. So 1 plus, this is also I, and y we obtain here 1 plus x as 1.04. So now the x is what? Equal to 1.04 minus 1. So this is how I directly said to you at the time, that this will be, what will the degree of dissociation will be? 1.04 minus 1. This is 0.041. This is what I have said. So anyway, how we'll obtain? This is how we obtain from the calculations. And then what does it mean? That if you know the x value of x and the number of moles, we also know the number of moles of acetic acid, that is already there. So the number of moles of acetic acid that is remaining at the or that is only dissociated at the equilibrium, we can calculate. And what is that? N into 1 minus x. Value of x we know, value of n we also know. Value of n we have calculated here, number of moles, this. So this value we can put there. So this value we put n 0.0106 into 1 minus x. X is 0.041. So this, and similarly the acetate ion will be nx, and H plus ion will also be equal to nx. The nx will be n value of G this into x this. And by now we know the equilibrium concentration of H plus ion, equilibrium concentration of acetate ion, and equilibrium concentration of acetic acid as well. And the formula we know, K, dissociation constant, will be equal to the product of concentrations, the product of concentration of all products, to the concentration of H plus into concentration of acetate divided by concentration, means the equilibrium concentration of acetic acid. And now this equilibrium concentrations we have obtained here. So what we can finally put all these values here, and after putting all these values, solving this, what we get? K is equal to 1.86 into 10 to the power minus 5. And this is what the dissociation constant of the acetic acid, and we can solve such problems using this method. This is where I end this stop this lecture, and this is also also the end of this chapter.